Hey guys, what's up? Nintenken91 or Tom here. Welcome to another video. I'm going to be discussing the decade-old argument of Call of Duty versus Battlefield. But before we get into that, just want to let you know what you guys are watching here. This is actually a Team Deathmatch on Argonne Forest, and I'm using I forget what the name of the rifle is, but I'm doing a rifle challenge for the medic class to unlock another rifle. It's 300 kills with the current gun I'm using, and then I think 20 or 25 rifle grenade kills. So just working on that during this clip. Thought it would be a little bit of interesting thing to watch while I'm kind of discussing this whole topic. So to get things started, I have, call it maybe 7 points that I kind of want to focus on when discussing these two things. And then to wrap it up, I'm going to do a brief discussion on the new Call of Duty World War II game launching in about a month from today. A little less than a month. But to start, so Call of Duty and Battlefield, they've always been compared, whether it's which game's better, is Battlefield a COD killer, yada yada yada. Ever since I want to say Modern Warfare came out, it's kind of been a discussion, and it's been more brought up ever since YouTube and gaming has gotten big. So I want to give my 2 cents on this thing, because every year it's still, whether DICE comes out with a game or Activision comes out with a game, it always comes back up. So here's one thing that I think everybody can agree on. Both games are first-person shooters. Obviously, as you can see in Battlefield, it's a first-person view. Call of Duty, it's a first-person view. But the difference is that they're completely different styles of first-person shooters. So what I mean by that is, if you look at Call of Duty, it's more of, I guess what you can say, quote-unquote, an arcade-style shooter, where it focuses more on close-quarters combat and being a fast-paced game. You're always, from the point of spawn to getting into a gunfight, it seems like it's now 3 seconds. I mean, you get engaged in gunfights so fast now in Call of Duty, you almost have no time to react. It's crazy. But then you look at a game like Battlefield here, and their entire focus is basically a large scale with a much slower pace, and there's a lot more team-oriented objective play in Battlefield. I mean, one person can't win Battlefield. Well, you can't win a match of Conquest with one person. You know, you can't have the star player. You gotta have a squad at least perform. And a squad consists of 5 people at max in Battlefield, for those of you that don't know. Call of Duty, one player can carry the entire team. I don't care if it's team deathmatch, domination, whatever. If one player is killing at an immense rate in Call of Duty, and it's domination, you're probably going to win that map. Because kill streaks, you know, just stopping people before they get to the flag. All the other teammates have to do is just put bodies on flags. You can't do that in Battlefield. It's, first of all, way too large of a game. There's too many people. You're playing 60-man servers, essentially. It's literally impossible. So yes, they're both first-person shooters, but they're completely different styles with completely different focuses. In addition to that, the movement systems between the two games. I know back when Modern Warfare 2 came out, specifically El Presidor, funny guy. Some people like him, some people hate him. I personally find him entertaining. I don't always agree with everything he says, but I can't deny that he is entertaining to watch, whether he's raging or whatever. But he made a funny video where he was doing a scientific study of the movements of a Call of Duty player compared to a Battlefield player. And Battlefield has always been described as being clunky when you move around. And yeah, it's clunky. I mean, you just kind of look at it in the game. It's not the smoothest thing. The panning left and right isn't very smooth. But Call of Duty's always been known for its smooth movements and quick, fluent reactions and responses and all that stuff. You can turn to a 180 on somebody in Call of Duty and snap onto a target so easily, because you basically develop that muscle memory so easily because the game is just so smooth. So, way different movement systems. Obviously, if you're coming into Battlefield thinking it's going to move like Call of Duty, which it doesn't, obviously you're going to be mad. And it doesn't need to move like Call of Duty because you're not really getting into those close quarter matches and it's not as fast paced. So it kind of makes sense how it works. The one thing that seems to be kind of trending here is that throughout time, Battlefield always aims for realism from the graphics to the gameplay itself, opposed to Call of Duty, where they kind of basically just focus on the game pace. They don't really care about the graphics. And kind of get into that a little bit more. So Battlefield, their graphics are insane. I mean, all of their maps are basically designed after real world areas and real world battles. So they shoot for realism from kind of the layout to the visuals to actually the specific details. So it's a much more detail oriented game. And then the gameplay, I feel like, seems to be realistic too. You know, movement of vehicles, airplanes, rate of fire, stuff like that. They really look at the accuracy of how weapons fire and all that stuff. I don't mean like the actual accuracy of the gun, but just the mechanics of how it fires, being accurate with that. I know people are starting to make videos about that. I saw one not too long ago about a British rifle and how accurate DICE actually portrayed the weapon. So they're always kind of focusing on that, and again, their graphics are always outstanding, whether they're doing this game or doing the Star Wars Battlefront or whatever it's called. Call of Duty, yeah, their focus is always the gameplay pace. Obviously, that's the direction they've been headed because their graphics have gotten way more cartoony and cheesy, and then they're increasing the pace of the game by adding stuff like boost jumping. So it's pretty evident that that's where their focus is going. They don't really care so much about the realism, from weapons to maps, you know. World War II, it's based off of real world stuff apparently, but none of these maps look realistic at all in the game. So I don't really know what direction they're trying to go with there. So moving on to another point here. Map design between these two games is completely different. You have a huge open map versus Call of Duty, which is a small map, pretty much consistent of 3 lanes. Now, one way that you can describe a DICE map or a Battlefield map is draw a giant circle, and then within that circle, where there's a conquest point, just plot random stuff. You can plot a town, you can plot, I don't know, a forest, whatever it may be. Whereas Call of Duty is just one of those areas. So what you could essentially do, or a good way to visualize this, is for each conquest point on a map, that's the equivalent of one Call of Duty map, because in a conquest match where there's 5 conquest points, there's massive battles taking place at each of those conquest points. I mean, it can be a battle of 6 versus 6, it can be 10 versus 10, 20 versus 20, all the way up to 30 versus 30 if the entire team was there. So it's kind of completely different. You know, this game's all about massive scale. It's always been that way. Whereas Call of Duty, they stick to a smaller map design that has a flow, and they direct you down that flow to get you into engagements more frequently. And you can't even compare the two. I mean, you take a Team Deathmatch map on Battlefield, and it's nothing like a Call of Duty map at all. And they actually take in Team Deathmatch on Battlefield, what they do is they section off the actual map so that it's a little more close quarters. But still, it's not, there's no lanes. It's just a big open area. And half of the time they'll section off the town portion of a giant map to, you know, make it more, I don't know, lane feeling where there are lanes to go down. So map design completely different between the two games. And then the last point that I have here is what kind of always seemed to be the primary focus in general between the two games. So for Call of Duty, it seems like kill streaks have always been the big focus. I guess not so much down the road. It has been the big focus because the last couple of games have had really piss poor kill streaks. Except Black Ops 3, I guess I'll give that to them. It really started with COD Ghost. That game was where it went downhill. And then vehicles, massive scale, and just overall chaos is kind of what Battlefield has always pushed for. That's like their big primary focus. That's what they're known for. The vehicles are a huge aspect of their game, and the massive scale that all this stuff takes place on is another big thing that they're big about. I mean, you go through insane battles in these games where just everything's blowing up, there's explosions everywhere, and it's really encompassing. So to really say that these two games are similar is kind of an overstatement. But I want to talk real quick about Call of Duty World War II because I did play the beta, and I don't have much time left to speak on this, but I'll tell you what, the graphics and the sound I think should be way better in that game than what it is. It doesn't look like they've done anything new in terms of that. It looks like it's still running off of whatever engine they used for the last couple of games. And I did hear that it's basically Advanced Warfare reskinned, and I can see how that is because it does look a lot like Advanced Warfare when it comes to the coloring and the visuals. It's very soft edges, rounded edges. There's no sharpness to the game, so there's no real actual detail. So I may get it, I may not. I canceled my pre-order already, so it's up in the air on that. But to kind of sum things up here, I think we can all agree that yes, both of these games are first-person shooters. but in no way are they similar outside of that. They're completely different styles of first-person shooters. And to be honest, I feel like comparing these two games to each other would be like comparing apples to oranges. Yes, they're both fruits, but they have a completely different taste, they have a completely different feel, and a complete different structure to them. So I don't think it's fair to ever have them go against each other, nor will they ever cancel each other out. So thanks for watching, guys. Let me know your thoughts on the whole Battlefield versus Call of Duty debate in the comments down below. I'm curious what people think, if it can be compared or if it should or shouldn't be. So I'm always interested to hear what you guys think too. Thanks for watching again, and I'll catch you guys next time in another video. Have a great day.